Awesome. Well, welcome to our class tonight on all sorts of things related to GLP-1s, natural, not natural, and how to support and things you might want to know. I'm really excited to introduce to you Lauren Busch. She is a functional nurse, and I will tell you, I don't think she'll have time to share her whole story tonight, but she lived about as out of the holistic world as I think you could possibly get in her lifestyle, and through some really hard experiences with a child and their life really being on the line, realized after many, many years of struggle, the power of living a holistic lifestyle. And she's made a total 180 and lives the life now, walks the talk, and has become a functional nurse. I know you had many years in medicine just in the traditional world, and now you are totally in the functional holistic world. And we're just so grateful for all of your experience and knowledge and that you're here to share with us tonight. So take it away, Lauren.
All right, guys. Like Amy said, like Lindsay said, I've been in both worlds, and I'm a little bit of an extremist. I don't know if anybody else is this way, but when I'm in the middle of learning things, I kind of fall in love with it. And so I was in nursing school. I'm like, oh my gosh, the healthcare system's so amazing. And I worked in it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is very different. And then I experienced some things that kind of fell short. Then I went completely the other direction. I found out what essential oils could do. I found out what natural solutions can do. And I was like, now who's the bad guy, right? And so I think that there has to be this place where we go, we don't have to have one extreme over the other. Does everything need to be paired and like melding in together all the time? No, but let me give you a good example. My little daughter, that was the one that brought me to doTERRA. We've had a lot of things with her health, that doTERRA has been like the only option on the table. One example would be when she was in first grade, she got her thumb closed in the hinge of the gym door at school. And we had to pick her up. Thumb is crushed into a million pieces. We have to go to the doctors, right? Like, was oils going on it? Yes. There was a massive amount of helichrysum and copaiba, but like all the things were getting poured on the way to the hospital because I still need to have her thumb put back together. Then we find out a growth plate's been broken off. She has to have surgery. Oils do great things. They don't do surgery. She goes in. My daughter can't do anesthesia because she has major respiratory issues. So they can't put her under typical anesthesia. And guess what else she can't do? Pain medicine. Can you imagine having surgery on your thumb and having a rod driven through your thumb so you can reassemble all the bones and they stay in one line? And no pain medicine is an option because they're respiratory suppressants. So, gosh, I am so glad that I was able to take my daughter in and this amazing surgeon put my daughter's thumb back together and she's got a normal functional thumb. Her nail's not perfect anymore, but that's it. Like we have a functional finger. And at the same time, my daughter had all the relief she needed because we had amazing essential oils. So, like Lindsay said, there's a place for all of us to be able to look at what does the world have to offer instead of being like, let me just close off my mind. Somebody's got to be the bad guy and somebody's all the good guy. And I think GLP-1s are have the possibility, when done right, they have the possibility of being one of those merges. So, again, for anybody who's like super concerned and they're like, oh, why are you trying to convince us all to go on? No, I'm not trying to convince everybody to be on a GLP-1. That's not the point of this call. What we want is for everybody to feel informed and know, like, while you're making decisions for your own personal health, your loved ones, if you're like super scared for them, like, I've heard all these horrible things, let's just actually look at what is actually happening in the body. And I love sharing stories. So I'm going to share my story first. So, like I said, bit of an extremist. I was all in one way, switched all in the other way. And I hit this place in my life with my own hormonal journey that no matter what I was doing, the needle wasn't moving. And let me tell you, like I said, I'm a bit extreme. So I have always believed that metabolic health was a self-control issue. Very judgmental. I will own it. I was very, very judgmental. I just felt like if you have a problem, you should put down the fork, and that is how we fix it. Yeah. That's where I was at until that was where I was at. And I did put down the fork and I did cut calories. And any of you that have, I've seen some familiar faces that follow me on social media, you'll know that every single morning I was out there doing all of my social media stuff while I'm carrying a 35-pound weighted vest. I would go back, I would work out, and I would not eat. Like I got to the point where I was down to one meal because I'm like, okay, I'm going to do really long fasting windows. When I finally eat, it's all protein. I'm not going to consume anything. And still the scale didn't move. Now I didn't get there overnight. It just kept like all like every change I could possibly make. I have 9 children. We don't eat out. There is no junk food in my house. If my kids want a treat, they have to make it from scratch. That's how picky we are in our household. We do not drink soda. We do not drink juice. Like when I say we're a little extreme, we're a little extreme. So for me to get to this place where the scale continued to climb, no matter how much I moved, no matter how much I restricted my calorie intake, because we've always been told calories in, calories out. If you could just burn as many calories as you're consuming, you should lose weight. All of these things, and all of a sudden, everything that I had learned wasn't working. And that got really frustrating. And, I always, it's a God moment. There's lessons I needed to learn, and I appreciate that he was willing to teach them me. And I got to a point, I had gestational diabetes my last 3 pregnancies, which again, I have hyperemesis gravidum during my pregnancy. So if you don't know what that is, you vomit all 9 months sun up, sun down. I didn't gain weight during my pregnancies. I couldn't eat, and somehow I still ended up diabetic. All the things that we have been told, here's how you could become diabetic, here's how the way you gain weight, all the things were not what was happening to me, right? So I had baby number 9. I knew what I had to do to recover. I thought I was doing all the right things. And here I am, all of a sudden, starting to have a diabetic ulcer break out of my leg. You know anybody who's diabetic and you get ulcers? Dangerous things. It's really bad. My A1C was still climbing, and it didn't matter what changes I made, the needle didn't move. And I know a lot of levers to pull, guys. And I had to be willing to say, okay, maybe there is something that I have been unwilling to be open to. And I have to decide, am I more scared of what a GLP-1 is, or am I more scared of being diabetic? And I was more scared at that point of being diabetic. And so I had to open some things up. So let's talk about what peptides are. And there are so many peptides out there. They're adding to the list more, like I think there was like 10 the other day that we were notified that will be FDA approved this just this year alone. Like there's a lot of things changes. So I just want to go clear on what they are. So one is what are peptides? And then we'll say what's a GLP-1. So peptides are short chains of amino acids, the same building blocks that your bodies use every single day. So think about when you eat some chicken, it's broken down into amino acids. We also have some peptides that we're really familiar with, like Advantage. It's a collagen tripeptide, right? So our bodies recognize peptides. They produce them, they work with them every single day. They're used to communicate between cells. They can be used to regulate hormones. They can be meant for tissue repair, metabolic repair. There's a lot of different functions when it comes to peptides. You choose a peptide based on what is the communication that you're trying to deliver to the body or correct in the body. They also have a very short half-life, meaning they don't stay in the system that long. So your body utilizes them, they get broken down, and they get cleaned out. So there's not damage on the way out of the body. Here's some examples of peptides that probably most of you, I at least hope most of you, might be using every single day. So collagen is a peptide supplement, right? And it's broken down into amino acids, and then our body can utilize those tinier pieces to rebuild our own collagen. Digestive enzymes are peptide based. Hormones like your body produces, like insulin, that's a peptide that your body naturally produces. And yes, our body actually naturally produces GLP-1. It produces it in the brain, in the gut. From what the research is, and again, until it is a major area of profit, we won't see enough research, as much research as we should, because nobody researches anything until it's massively profitable. From the research that there is, what most people are figuring out is that, or most practitioners are figuring out, is our bodies aren't producing them at the same amount that they used to a decade ago, a generation ago. And we have to ask ourselves why. Why all of a sudden it's something that our body has made for multiple generations for a very long time. Why is it not? But also so that you know when we reintroduce, just like a type 1 diabetic doesn't make enough insulin, there are some people that really benefit from having a GLP-1 added because their body's not making it at the level that it should. So let's talk about all the things that would lower GLP-1 production naturally in the body, and then also lifestyle choices that can actually naturally increase GLP-1 without you needing one introduced through a needle, right? So a couple things when I teach about this, I think it's really important is You need to know how many body systems are connected. Okay. So if you are on a GLP-1 and you went to a provider and the only thing that they checked was maybe a fasting insulin, a fasting glucose, and your hemoglobin A1C, and they're like, oh, your insurance will cover a GLP-1, we're missing the point. There are so many things that feed in and impact metabolic health. And so I see, again, both sides of the discussion. I see people that are really mean and nasty, and they will comment, well, everybody just needs an easy button sometimes, and the claiming that a GLP-1 is the easy button, right? And then I'll see other people that are using it as an easy button. Like, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have like I don't want to be picky about my food, and I do want the easy button. So there's also a place where somebody's like, but I have done everything and the needle didn't move. And there's some other dysfunction happening in the body. But again, you need to dig enough to know for sure this is where the dysfunction is happening. So, quick example, just with our hormones, right? If your estrogen varies, meaning you hit perimenopause and your estrogen levels are going like this on a weekly or daily basis, right? That messes with insulin production. When we mess with insulin production, we cannot produce enough, which means we don't aren't putting sugar where it belongs, or we could overproduce it. Really, estrogen messes with insulin sensitivity. So when estrogen starts to drop off, our body becomes less sensitive to insulin, which means our pancreas has to crank out. I love it, Lindsay. Oh, estrogen. Yes, dear estrogen. Your body has to crank out a ton of insulin to get the same response of, oh, she just ate a piece of bread. Cells, I need you to open up and let the sugar in. And your cells become 16-year-old teenagers and like, but do I have to? And you're like, let me try that again. I'm going to put out a little more insulin. Cells, I need you to open up and I need you to let the sugar in. And the teenager goes, maybe I'll let a little bit in. And then finally, your pancreas cranks out a ton of insulin. Let the sugar in the cells. And your body's like, oh my gosh, we'll do that. Okay, let's put all the sugar in, right? But it takes this massive surge of insulin, which is very pro-inflammatory. And it's not something you want to be happening all the time. But just like that stubborn teenager who got used to you screaming at him for not cleaning his room and doesn't react unless you scream, that's what happens with low estrogen is all the cells become stubborn teenagers, and unless your pancreas cranks out a massive amount of insulin, it doesn't listen, and that's insulin resistance. When we deal with insulin resistance, now we mess with the thyroid. Your thyroid is your metabolic thermometer. It controls your metabolism. So when we go back and people are having these discussions, well, if you just stay in a calorie deficit, yeah, that works on cooking measurements. In the human body, we actually have the ability to burn more calories or less calories, and our body will actually crank down our metabolism to conserve when it's in panic mode. And when our body is got multiple systems dysfunctional, it's in panic mode because it's like, well, estrogen might be here today. She might be not there tomorrow. And your body goes, oh my gosh, let me just crank out some extra cortisol because who knows if estrogen's coming tomorrow. And insulin's all over the place. And she's causing a bunch of inflammation. And your body is just like, I'm not really worried about burning calories because maybe the calories won't be here tomorrow. So can I just store them all and not use any of them today? And you're like, I'm completely exhausted and I added 5 pounds in 24 hours. How did this even happen? And if we don't check for any of that, then we don't know if there's something we can correct without just jumping to the GLP-1. So make sure that when you're working with a provider or your family member is like, I'm out of options, what do I do? And you're like, I also don't want you to be diabetic. We look at the whole picture because that is why it is more than if you just eat less and move more, all of a sudden the weight should fall off. There's also multiple forms on the market. So the very first one to come to market, and guys, they're not new. I want you to know peptides have been around for over a decade. They're trendy now, so it's new to hear about it everywhere. That does not make them new. There is so much research. Like I said, the research isn't funded in the US because we've decided maybe or maybe not. It's not super profitable, so we're not doing it here. It doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of other countries that haven't been researching these guys for a long time. So multiple, I call them multiple generations. So the first one to market, the first one FDA approved was semaglutide. And that one basically it just reduces hunger. It can slow down the digestive system. Then second on the market was tirzepatide. And tirzepatide works by, yes, it slows down the digestive system but it also does help increase a little bit of insulin sensitivity. And then the newest one on the market is retatrutide, any way you want to pronounce it is completely right. It just depends on what state you live in. So if anybody goes and corrects anybody, it's an accent thing. It's totally fine. It influences appetite signaling, it influences your blood sugar regulation, insulin sensitivity, and even the production of lean muscle mass. Now, it's half the equation for lean muscle mass, right? So if I put something in my system to say, hey, our priority today is increasing lean muscle mass, and then my butt sits on the couch, my body's going to go, I don't think she means it, and it's not going to do anything. So it gives you the opportunity to get more out of every workout, not get the workout in while you sat on the couch, right? So sorry, I do see I do see all the questions. Yes, I will go and answer questions a little bit later. So we have to move. We still have to have healthy lifestyle factors coming in, right? When we okay, here's where the conversation shifts a little bit. I keep going back to the chat and sorry guys. This is where things can be messy. Just like the insulin, if our body becomes flooded with a message at very high levels, it overrides safety mechanisms. So, is it okay if our digestive tract needs to be told it needs to slow down a little bit? Yes, because for a lot of people who are in high stress modes all the time, the body is shuttling things through a little faster in the digestive tract because it's trying to get things empty because it believes you got to run away from a cougar. So sometimes that's not the worst thing. If you scream at your digestive system to slow down, it comes to a screeching halt. And so that is a bad side effect we don't want, but it's also because of the dose. The same thing would happen as if, you went to your teenager and said, I need you to drink 3 gallons of water today. You could also cause a massive amount of harm or possibly lose your teenager because that is an overdose of water. Or if you had a diabetic and you're like, let me just put the entire vial in you and maybe this insulin will last for the next 2 weeks. It's not how it works. So dosage makes a difference. It's okay if we slow down the digestive system just a little bit. It's also really helpful when the food that is super processed in America is loaded with chemicals that tell your body, ignore the fact that she's full, you want more of this. And then you put something in the system that goes, actually, I am full, and that was a normal amount of food, and I don't need to eat anymore. That's a helpful message. And sometimes we have to fight the corruption of what's in processed foods. After we eat, we don't want our body to go, so I waited really long time to put out a normal amount of insulin or for my body to respond to insulin. And so blood sugar spiked, all of a sudden massive insulin hits the system and then everything crashes. We want everything to stay more level. And that means that the body should instantly respond to the fact that there are calories coming in, there is glucose hitting the system, and what do we need to do with it? And so that's what a GLP-1 does, especially one that impacts a lot of communication, is it's looking at multiple ways to be able to serve metabolism versus like semaglutide, where it's just if I just slow down the digestive system, of course they'll feel full faster, which means they won't eat as much food and then weight is lost. So sometimes the experience is a little different depending on which type of GLP-1 you use, because it's how many different messages is that GLP-1 sending. So your own natural GLP-1 is meant to regulate your appetite. It's meant to regulate blood sugar. It's meant to regulate energy storage, also known as fat storage. Energy is stored as fat in the body, right? Even fat oxidation, so the type of fat that gets stored and how it is utilized. And then when we do an external GLP-1, we're trying to mimic what the body was supposed to be doing. The things that mess with natural production is ultra processed foods. We live in America, you're probably consuming it, a poor gut microbiome, chronic stress, and I want to add to that what I probably see the most with patients is when I say chronic stress, it is women who have dealt with trauma and usually trauma early in life. So it's not just I work a hard job. When I say chronic stress, I mean they're in survival mode and they haven't healed from something. That's probably what I see the most. But Can it be a hard job? Yes, it can. Can it be, well, I'm raising teenagers and caring for my aging parents at the same time? Absolutely. It can be a lot of different things. I'm just going to say what I see the most common in women is I they hear my story and they go, that's exactly me. I've done all the things. And the thing we tend to share in common is trauma early in life that most of us needed to work on dealing with. Sleep disruption. I mean, just welcome to parenthood, right? Insulin resistance and extra inflammation. And those things not only decrease GLP-1 production, but then they also increase hunger cues because your body's like, let me produce extra cortisol. I need some extra calories. I need some extra salt. It causes more blood sugar instability because cortisol messes with your blood sugar. And then we have difficulty losing weight. So we get like, it's like the hamster wheel. Once it starts going, it just rolls faster and faster. We have multiple things that are contributing to the dysfunction, which means if we want to heal it, we have to address all those things on the list as well, too. Okay, so some things that you can naturally do to increase GLP-1 production. So one is we have to eat our protein. And you know, what was it? Maybe 10 years ago, we had this amazing study on the blue zones, and everybody said, oh, well, the blue zones are so healthy because people are only eating plant-based food. And everybody's like, well, that must be the healthiest thing. And then they cut protein out of their diet. And guess what? You need amino acids to stimulate GLP-1 release. You also need it for neurotransmitters for mental health for muscle production. You need it for a lot of things. And turns out the guy skewed the data on the Blue Zone research and he wasn't telling the truth. So there's a problem. We also want to make sure that we have good fiber and resistant starch. So because our gut microbiome impacts our GLP-1 production in the gut, we need those good gut bacteria to be able to have food. And they like fiber and they like resistant starches. So things that you would find in like rice because that's their fuel to do their job. And then they release short chain fatty acids, polyphenols, anything with polyphenols in it, like I don't know, deep blue polyphenols or beautiful, super colorful, fresh food, fruits and vegetables. Those help. Green tea has polyphenols, turmeric, cinnamon, and even movement helps increase GLP-1. And no, this is not HIIT. This is light walking will help increase it. So if there's things that we can do on a daily basis to naturally support it, let's do it before we have to jump to, well, I have to automatically replace it. But if it's already things you're doing, again, I like what Lindsay said, there's no shame. Get the help that we need, right? So number one thing that we can do on a daily basis is support the gut microbiome. So one is we want to increase the GLP-1 production in our gut. We have to have the right guys there. One of the strains that are most well known for controlling metabolic health, it's called Akkermansia. No, Akkermansia is not found in PB Restore. However, Akkermansia is really picky about its environment and it will not thrive and flourish unless it is an incredibly diverse environment. So guess what PB Restore provides? A incredibly robust and diverse environment for Akkermansia to flourish in. So they have done so many studies on gut health and they found that the number one thing someone can do for Akkermansia in their body is not taking it because if you just take an Akkermansia supplement and you put it in an environment that it's like, I'm not welcome here, it just disappears. It dies right off. But if instead you fuel a really healthy gut microbiome with diversity, with the good fibers, fibrous foods, and those resistant starches, Akkermansia pops back up. It shows up and it flourishes. So its environment matters more than you just saying, "Oh, I happen to find this one strain somewhere else." I see people taking it all the time, and I'm like, "It won't. If it was gone, and you didn't make any lifestyle choices and you're just putting it back in the same environment, it won't stick around. Akkermansia helps regulate GLP-1 production, your gut lining integrity, and metabolic health. So, healthier gut, better appetite control, stronger GLP-1 signaling. Um, oh, I forgot I had this slide. I already kind of explained there's a difference between the three different generations. So why for some of you, I saw somebody was like, an 8. I know so much about GLP-1s and I'm petrified of them. Why do they get a bad rap? So one is the dosage. So uh, this typical studied dose of a GLP-1 semi or tirzepatide is somewhere between 8 milligrams and 12 milligrams in a week. However, I have watched people lose the weight just fine on zero point 0.5 milligrams per week. So why in the world would you put somebody on so high of a dose when the needle will move with super tiny doses, or what is known as microdosing? Because you have to buy more and that makes people more money, and so they like to sell a lot of it. But the problem is it's screaming at the body, and so it is telling the body to stop digesting food and everything stalls, and that's a problem. It makes you feel full and you're not going to want to eat as much. You'll cut back on how much you're eating, but everything just sits there and rots, which ruins your microbiome. So we're causing future problems, right? When we don't eat and when we don't consume enough calories, your sex hormones go in the trash because that's a stressor. Your body doesn't like to be starved. Your body starts to pull nutrients from all of your other tissues. So it's like, well, she didn't consume any calcium today. So guess where we're getting that from? The bones. We didn't get enough protein today. So guess where we're getting that from? We're going to break down her muscle. And then your muscle is your metabolic tissue. So then people are losing weight, but they're losing primarily muscle mass. And so they can never come off the GLP-1 because they did such a high dose that their body went in breakdown mode and they lost their metabolic organ, which is their muscle. And so now when they come off of it, there's nothing to continue to burn calories efficiently. And that gives it a very bad reputation. Next is not going to a provider that requires lifestyle change with a GLP-1 is, again, it's a money-making clinic. That's the goal, is just to make the money and not to serve you. There should be a requirement on how much protein a patient is consuming every single day at every single meal if they're going to be on a GLP-1. There should be requirements on movement, which includes strength training, not just walking. There should be nutrition counseling because if you're not consuming enough calories and we don't get the nutrients in there, our organs, our cells rely on nutrients. And so those all th are things that need to come in. So if that's you and you're like, hey, I wasn't told I needed to do any of this, this is how we're going to go back and we're going to fix it. Is you have to reprioritize these things in life, or you just signed up for a program that you'll never be able to come off of, and you can leave yourself in a worse place than where you started because I saw the heads count on this call is primarily female. Men, this applies to you as well. But ladies, when we lose our muscle mass, that is the number one protection we have for our bones as we age. And ladies, we are phenomenal at breaking things when we get over 50, over 60, and we don't recover. Our health plummets very quickly. I think it's like a 50% increased risk of like death when we start breaking hips and bones. Like our bodies don't like broken bones as we age. And the number one protection we have is good lean muscle mass so that if we fall, we have that protection and it's not a bone hitting a tile, it's the muscle getting bruised as we, and our pride as we go down, right? So you're increasing multiple risk factors of your quality of life as things go down. Next thing is in a calorie deficit is that your thyroid throws up the white flag because again, it's constant stress and it needs very specific nutrients to function. So we've turned down our metabolic thermometer. We have ruined, degraded, broken down our metabolic organ, which is muscle. We've removed the nutrients for our body to work, and now we've made our hormone imbalances even worse because if we didn't have the calories, we're not getting the nutrients, and then we throw more things off base. So, uh, just an explanation of terminology real quick. Anabolic is like we're in a building state. We want to be able to promote good muscle growth. We want tissue. Ladies, we don't want to be going bald just so we can start getting skinnier, right? We want healthy hair. We want healthy skin. That's an anabolic state. It's a state where your body's like, it's not an emergency mode. I'm working on prioritizing healing. I'm working on building. I'm working on flourishing. Versus a catabolic state is that depleted, nutrient deficient state where everything is breaking down around you because the building blocks aren't even there to work with in the first place. And the amount of stress that we're in that puts us in a breakdown state. So when we are too low on protein, when we're too low on calories, will the scale move? Yes. Is it for the right reasons? No. Are we causing future problems? We can be. So, what are some things if you are currently on a GLP-1 that you need to prioritize? And nutrition becomes the most important thing because yes, GLP-1s do impact appetite. Now they have, if they're done right in the right doses, sometimes they have some really great benefits, meaning I've worked with a lot of people where their sugar cravings are gone. So it's not that they're
Mhm.
not hungry, it's the things that they would have wanted all the time that would have thrown the scale off. They don't crave that anymore. Sugar just doesn't taste as good. And so now they're like, well, I am hungry. I still need to eat. I'm just going to make better choices. And that's wonderful. However, if that was not been your experience, and even if it has, we all know that a typical American diet, which is super calorie heavy, is still nutrient depleted. So even if you weren't having a decreased hunger cues, we aren't getting enough nutrients. When we decrease the hunger cues, we have to prioritize it even more. So getting the right nutrients in is incredibly important. Um, One, you need to make sure you're getting your protein in, which is not what's pictured on the side, but get your protein in. Two is we risk those micronutrient deficiencies, which means we cause further dysfunction in the thyroid hormone production, multiple organ function. And that's why people are like, oh, I saw, there's this new lawsuit with GLP-1. Oh, you paralyzed the digestive tract and you made people not eat food. And of course, the organs went all crazy. That's not a healthy way to function, right? So we need our omega-3s
Mm.
because we want those super supple cells. We want the nutrients to get into the cells really well. We want to be able to protect our heart, our brain, our hormones. Um, Collagen's another one I'm going to talk about, and then the minerals, because again, when our body needs those cofactors. So, what should you know before you even consider a GLP-1? So, one, did you make the lifestyle choices? Are you eating out all the time? Are we eating a lot of fast food? Is our breakfast a bowl of oatmeal and then our lunch is sandwich and then dinner is like mostly mashed potatoes with a couple pieces of like chicken there? Like, is it a diet issue? Is it a movement issue? We can't just go to a GLP-1 and be like, well, who has time to exercise? I can do a shot instead. No, that's not appropriate. That's not the way we work. And then did I look for what else could have possibly led to this, right? I love that, Linda. Yeah, Linda said she got a minimum of 100 grams, which we'll talk about that one in a minute too. But and then did you look for something else? So is there a different reason? Did your thyroid turn off? Like, is it just like I threw up the white flag and I gave up? And if you went and you loved on your thyroid, you didn't need a GLP-1? Possibly. So you should know where you're at. You should know your metabolic markers. You should know your thyroid markers. You need to know your inflammatory markers because that keeps your body in a panic state. It keeps it in a catabolic state. Things are breaking down. Nobody should ever be started on a GLP-1 with a vitamin D deficiency, a B12 deficiency, or a ferritin issue. And if the nobody checked it, then how can they say, well, oh, you were fine. You didn't check it. You don't know. And you should never cut down on someone's nutrient intake when they already have very important nutrients that are already deficient and causing problems. And then it's really good to know a regular CBC, where's our red blood cell count out and white blood cell counts out and all the things. And a CMP, which is really a metabolic panel, but it really looks at kidney and liver health because when you start to lose weight, when we start to lose fat, our body releases toxins and they have to get cleaned out of the system. And that's the liver's job. So you should know how your liver's doing, especially if you've been struggling with weight, if you've been struggling with sugar cravings, if your A1C has been high, the risk is that we have something called fatty liver disease. And so you need to know how much extra love your liver needs. I mean, GLP-1s have been shown to help heal fatty liver disease. So it's not the wrong thing, but you need to know. You need to know, hey, it's going to need extra love because as I lose this weight, I spent, my teenage years in Bath and Body Works, bathing in all the things, and all that's going to come back out of me right now, right? So I need to love on my liver a little bit extra. But you need to have a really clear picture of where your health is. I saw the mention on protein. Okay, so couple different ways we can look at this. One is ideal target. This is ideal, and I know some of you are gonna be like, impossible. I have had multiple people tell me it's impossible. It's impossible without protein powder. I get it. 1 gram of protein per pound of goal body weight. So if your goal body weight is 140 pounds, your goal would be about 140 grams of protein per day. That's a lot. If you are not a protein person and you're like, I don't even know that I get 50 grams in a day, then the perfect place to start would be, can we just get 30, 35 grams per meal? Can I get that first thing in the morning, at lunch, and at dinner time? Next thing I want to just make a note of, ladies, there's a reason that our bodies don't like long fasting windows when it's already in emergency mode. And so those long fasting windows that I was trying to do to lose weight, my body got really good at holding on to every bite I ate because it was in emergency mode. And so don't skip the meals when you need the protein, when we need to promote good, strong, healthy muscle mass. And if you're like, I've already perfected that, Lauren, I hit 35 grams at every meal, then you can up your goal for 1 gram per pound of goal body weight. And again, I know that that is a lot. Not saying it's not. There's a lot of ways that I get to increase mine. So I love starting my day with bone broth. I love adding collagen into my drinks. When I do my protein powder, I'm not doing 1 scoop, I'm doing a scoop and a half. Can your body handle massive amounts at one time of protein? No. So again, about 35, 40 grams per meal, and then try to find different ways during the day to be able to add it in. And then again, lots of different ways to be able to support nutrient when we're cutting back on how much we're eating. Nutrient density becomes that much of a more priority. So make sure that you're doing the right things, adding the extra nutrients in, because you're not going to crave all the things that you used to crave. And if you've been on one for a long time, you need to probably double up on dosage because now you've got to restore and fix a lot of deficiencies. So you might need more than the regular person for a little while. And then collagen. Okay. I know. I'm seeing the questions. I promise. I promise we're gonna go through all the questions. Collagen. I can't say
Did you get
enough
it
amazing
closed?
things about collagen. I love them. I love them. I love it. The reason why is a couple fold. One is it's already a peptide. Two is it is one of our nutrients isn't the right word. It's, yeah, we'll call it nutrients. It's one of the things we need to prioritize the things we want. So if you've ever seen someone who's lost a lot of weight and it looks like all of our skin is hanging off of our face, that's a loss of collagen. And as we age, when estrogen levels fall, we automatically don't make collagen as well. So, ladies, when do we tend to start putting all the weight and having all the metabolic dysfunction? When we hit perimenopause, menopause, which is already our estrogen falling off. And so already we're losing collagen production, and nobody wants to have look like the skeleton with the skin hanging off, right? So you have to be able to supply the body with what it needs. Second is there's actually amazing research out there about the impact of collagen on protecting bone health. So now we get to support bone health. I actually like it better than calcium supplements, ladies. Like this is the place to be. And collagen protecting bone loss and preventing bone loss, osteoporosis, osteopenia as women age. So I love collagen. If you can double down on something, collagen, collagen, collagen. It's skin, it's connective tissue, it's your gut lining, it's additional amino acids for supplying your body what it needs. Plus, we have a whole bunch of other longevity factors in there so we can live a long, healthy, happy life, not just live to be old, right? And then let's talk about lifestyle. So if the only thing that anyone talked to you about was GLP-1 and all the things aren't happening. And you're like, I tried it. It helped a little bit. What else are we doing? So again, what are we doing for protein intake? Your body listens to your protein intake to see how serious you are about lean muscle mass. So when someone comes to me and it's like, oh yeah, I tried those one time. I tried them for a couple months. The weight didn't really move. I ask about the protein intake. Yeah, I tried my best. I did work out all the time though. Well, what was your body supposed to make that muscle out of? You didn't get the protein that you needed to make the muscle. And if you don't make the muscle, we don't burn glucose very well. So we didn't actually meet the need, right? Getting up and walking after meals, making sure that you're getting the right amount of sleep. If you're not sleeping and you're like, let me scroll on my phone until 2 or 3, and then I have to hop up with kids first thing in the, I'm sorry, you just ruined your metabolism. And then you're like, the GLP-1 was supposed to fix it. It's just not how it works. You need to make sure that the full lifestyle pieces are happening. Stress is another big piece. So while if this is the path you've gone down and you've decided I'm already on a GLP-1, what are the other ways you can optimize your metabolic health? And sleep and getting your stress under control are two huge ones. If you've already mastered those, it's clean out the toxins in your home that are causing stress that you didn't even realize that you had. It is optimizing your hormones, right? So there's a lot of other places to come in and optimize your health on the journey so that your journey goes as amazing as
Here.
possible. Okay. I think that was I think that was all of it. I know I talk fast. I figured we were going to end up having a lot of questions, so we can jump into the questions. And Lindsay, I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
fire
First of
them
all,
at me.
you're so
Chill
helpful
out.
because we need to well, can somebody figure out who needs to get muted there?
Well, you're gonna
Okay.
have to wait 2 seconds.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
Dad doesn't even put the
sorry.
food down.
Hold on. Hold on. This is mama in mom mode. That's okay. Okay. So what we're gonna do, you guys, is we're gonna do a survey first because we want to actually give away a product. Um, I was happy to see turmeric on Lauren's list because turmeric is such a great support to the body. And so I'm gonna actually be giving away the turmeric capsules. And so let's do the survey first, and we are gonna do Q&A right after that. So, give me a second here. I've got a few things. Or does somebody have, can Sarah or Megan, do either of you have the survey? Okay. So the survey just went in the chat. And so go ahead and take a minute, you guys, fill that out. And then as you're doing that, I know we've been
And the
tracking some
survey is
questions in
only
the
for
chat.
guests, right, Lindsay?
Yes, thank you. Survey is
Yes.
only for guests. This is not for advocates. If you are an advocate, please do not fill out the survey. We love to be able to bless our guests who come and just learn. Okay. And then
You get
Lauren,
the
are
key?
you okay for us to record the Q&A?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what this whiteboard is we got going on here. There we go. All right.
You got the key.
Oh.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Sarah. And then I do not know why the settings on my Zoom have changed, but Megan and Sarah, if either of you have access to the results page, that is great. We'll give you guys one more minute. It should be a pretty quick survey.
I just saw Megan's comment. Cucumber melon. Yes, I was a sweet pea girl, but yes, to cucumber melon.
Throwback 90s.
Uh-huh.
Oh gosh.
Results are coming in now, so that's good.
Awesome. Ripened raspberry.
Yep.
Yes. So much yes. Yeah, go ahead. When you're finished filling out the survey, you guys can go ahead and put, oh my gosh, Rhonda Boss plumeria. Oh yes.
Oh my word,
Plumeria.
yes. Mhm.
Oh, nostalgia. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but
I know.
nostalgia.
We're all like, yes, we had all of those.
Uh-huh. 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 All
Lindsay, do you
right.
want me to draw the winner?
Yeah, you guys go ahead. We'll give you one more minute here. And now I can see that. So that's very helpful. So we still have people coming in. We'll give you guys another quick minute. Perfect. We've got a lot coming in now. Lauren, I just want to thank you because one of the things I've appreciated about what you shared is it's not as simple as like GLP-1 bad. There's a lot of factors. And also like, you know, everybody shouldn't do a GLP-1. And lifestyle is a big one. Like I think just even going through this list of like, okay, if I want an easy button, like an easy button when your lifestyle doesn't actually support the easy button will actually potentially wreak more havoc on your body than good.
Yeah.
So if you can really be looking at like, am I moving in a day? Am I lifting? Women, we have to be lifting. So protein is huge. So just really hearing like, hey guys, lifestyle is actually really important, no matter what. I think you just filled out a much bigger picture of like, hey, let's be thoughtful on this. Let's be good thinkers on something like this and not just really simplistic because this isn't a super simplistic thing, even though sometimes I think people can have opinions on it, but it's based on some maybe simplistic things that they've heard or seen. And so I've appreciated the way that you've filled out more information on this. So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. And I think, like I mentioned in the beginning, I was one of those judgmental people. So I think for a lot of people, when someone makes specific lifestyle changes, and I see this all the time, somebody's like, I made these changes and look at what happened for me, and somebody else tries that exact same thing and nothing happens for them, you end up feeling really broken. And for the person it did work for, they're like, well, then you must not have done it right. Well,
Yep.
you don't know what that person, what their journey is that they have walked. You don't know what they've experienced. They don't know what they've been exposed to. You don't know if they go home at night and they're whether they're married or not, they're operating as a single parent. They're getting 3 hours of sleep. They're eating whatever's left over on their kids' plates because that's the only food in the house. Like you don't know someone else's journey. And so it gives us a second to like pause and realize there's a lot of not good information out there. Like I see trainers and I am not man bashing. I love my husband. I love my kids. I love men. They're wonderful. But when I see the male trainers get on there, like, if you could just stay in a calorie deficit, and I'm like, what a man thing to say. Like, we have a lot more complexity as women, and it's okay. Like, it's the beautiful intricacies of being female. We have a lot more things to keep in balance, and because we are the ones that are created to create, our bodies go, well, just in case you were to get pregnant and someone's going, I'm 43, I don't want to get pregnant. I understand, but your body is saying, just in case, let me hold on to all these things, that all the calories, because just in case you were to get pregnant, I've got extra storage here. Or just because I don't know if you're going to go into full panic mode and feel like you're in survival mode again, let me protect you. Let me hold on to as much as I can in case we are in a time of famine. And so it is so much more messaging, especially for women. I'm not saying men don't experience it, they do as well, but especially for women. And then we can remove ourselves from the space of judgment of saying, yeah, well, I talked to so and so and they just added these two products and look at the scale fell. And they're like, well, I added five and still nothing happened. And so we just have to be willing to allow everyone to be able to walk their journey, honor it, and then show up in a great way where we can provide extra support. So for anybody that's on this call that has a family member that you're like, I've been telling them to get off of it. Well, maybe instead provide some extra solutions for making sure they're sleeping better, to be the person that gets out and does the exercise with them, to make sure they're getting the nutrients that they might not be getting if they're on the wrong dosage of whatever they're on. Like, be the person that cheers them on and provides more solutions versus the person that's living in a fear or in a judgment space. Because being diabetic, having cardiovascular disease, because something else was off in the body, that end result is far worse. And there are amazing products to support metabolic health and cardiovascular health. And I'm not saying don't use them, but sometimes we get to that emergency place and it's not worth the risk. And so we pull the best of both worlds together and set somebody on a better path and watch the needle move for them and watch their courage come back and their confidence come back and make sure they're like the lifestyle is pairing with it. That's where magic, can happen.
Absolutely. And one of the great things, you guys, is doTERRA actually has incredible product lines for all of that, for sleep, for stress, for nutrition. I'm like, these things that she's listing, I'm like, we honestly have the gold standard in all of those things for support. So talk to your wellness advocate for that. Judy Danaher, I'm putting you on the spot. Pick a number 1 through 38. And just, you can unmute yourself if you want.
19.
What'd you say?
19.
Okay, let's find out who 19 is. 19 is Michelle Murphy. Congratulations. I will be sending you some turmeric in the mail. So let's get over to questions. Amy, do you want to lead out some of these questions that are coming in?
Yeah, we had a ton of questions. So I'll kind of go at the end and we'll just go backwards. Rochelle asked, I have a friend who had a minor heart attack. The doctor told her it would actually be good. The shot would be good for her. Is that true?
Well, I don't know your friend and I don't know where their lab work is, but I will say that when someone's metabolic health is messy, so let's talk about what causes inflammation in the body, and this will apply for a lot of different people. So I like to tell people that there's a couple things that are just like setting your kids loose through the house with metal rakes. And when you go through and you take a metal rake to drywall, that's what's happening when inflammation happens in the body. So your body's resolution to a rake going across the drywall is it produces extra cholesterol because it's trying to fill in the scratches, right? So we don't blame cholesterol. We go, what are the rakes? So super high blood sugar, a lot of inflammation, either because of the high insulin and blood sugar or because of other factors in the environment, including stress, hormones being out of balance, environmental toxins, not recovering at nighttime through good sleep, and a few others. Can we get rid of the rakes? For a lot of people, when that rake has been going over and over and over again, and your body's like cholesterol, 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 and it's piling on, and now we've closed off our arteries and we resulted in a heart attack, there's a problem. So if your friend's heart attack was driven by poor metabolic health because they were eating a lot of calories that were empty calories, not followed by fiber, that they were empty carbohydrates, a lot of processed sugars, and that was the rate. Can it be helpful? Absolutely. Do they still need to learn better lifestyle choices? Yes. Are there other things they need to also be doing, like doubling on their omegas, doubling down on their turmeric duo caps, adding frankincense boswellic acid complex? Also, yes. So again, back to the easy button. It's never actually an easy button. It is a one single tool, and all the other factors have to come into play. Otherwise, you've created a crutch that can cause further damage down the line. So could the GLP-1 be great? Absolutely. Does that mean they don't need to double their omegas? Absolutely not. Start with some of the things that they can be doing every single day to support the cardiovascular health, and let's get rid of whatever was causing the rake to go through the system.
Such a great analogy, Lauren. You had said, minimum, we're looking at 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. They asked, is that the same for men? And I mean, Lauren had said also just the goal weight, right? That's like your goal, ideal, for a protein grams, but is the same for men.
So where's the man at currently? Is he living on oatmeal in the morning, or does he already consuming a lot of protein? Men tend to be bigger, tend to be taller, tend to have more muscle mass, so they would need more protein than we do. Because of that, their body can process more protein at one time than a smaller female can. So they would increase their intake. But again, we all have to start somewhere. So if it's proteins and not a thought until steak dinner gets pulled out, they have to work their way up. And then two is for a lot of people bringing in protein for the first time, or that amount of protein for the first time, it should always be paired with Terrazyme, because your body's going to be like, I've never had to do this much work in my life. And so you put Terrazyme in that. Now we're actually breaking it down, processing and absorbing it a million times better without any digestive upset. So that would be my tip for those of you who are like, I have new goals that I never knew I had in the first place. Get the Terrazyme in there and it'll be a much better
Yes.
experience.
I love that. And can I just add one other important thing I feel like to that? You talked so much about, Lauren, how like the processed foods and ultra processed foods, protein is not created equal. And there's so much ultra processed protein, hot dogs and lunch meat, and like things that are going to cause inflammation in your body and cause further damage. So can I just point out it's clean protein, which would be, good like grass-fed meats and pasture-raised eggs and like well-sourced things so it's not further causing inflammation in your body.
Oh, absolutely. And, guys, Costco has some really good organic meats. It makes it really easy to buy it in bulk and repackage it. Like when we buy, I have a big family, so when we buy like a big hunk of beef and we cut it down to the steaks or to the cubes or whatever. I'm going to make, my kids eat a lot of beef stews. So I can load in tons of veggies, tons of fiber, but I can also get the protein in there. We cook it in
Yep.
bone broth. That adds extra protein.
Love
It's
it.
gut healing. So lots of ways to kind of double down on good, healthy things, getting the protein in.
And that brings us to another question of you talked about the synthetic GLP-1s. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on natural? You mentioned the meat, like beef, especially and different proteins, be a good natural GLP-1. Any other natural GLP-1s that you can speak to?
Yeah, so I think the one that's probably the most well known that will increase GLP-1 production. So natural means your body made it's on its own. So one of them is it's called yerba mate. It's actually from a tea, but again, it's really high in polyphenols. So you could just take a polyphenol, you could drink yerba mate tea. It's a really good swap out actually for coffee. Um, Turmeric, cinnamon, increase protein, increase exercise. So all the things that your body would say, like we're reducing inflammation with the polyphenols, we're regulating blood sugar even better with the cinnamon, and the turmeric will actually help regulate a lot of blood sugar things too, plus protein. We're telling our body we want to be more glucose efficient. By eating the protein, it's not just because it makes us full, it's because we're telling our body, I have what you need to make lean muscle mass. Muscle burns sugar. And ladies, muscles are Spanx. So you're not going to look like a man. It's going to hold everything. It's going to tighten everything up. It's going to protect your bones. You want to eat the proteins. Your body's like, let me make some Spanx for you for free. So consume the protein.
I love it.
Synthetic is what we take. It's called exogenous. So something that is made outside the body. So Anybody who says a GLP-1 is not synthetic, that's not correct, but it is made or derived from human GLP-1. So just like insulin is made in a lab, GLP-1s are made in a lab, but they are meant to be identical to what the body produces. But yes, they are synthetic.
There was some confusion around like when you spoke about estrogen for women.
Mhm.
You were you talking about low estrogen, high estrogen? Like, can you clarify that a little bit further with when you talked about that whole process of the
Yes.
cortisol and the thyroid and all of that?
Yeah. So I'm actually talking about both. So when we hit perimenopause on a monthly basis, there's these huge fluctuations where some months we might have super high estrogen levels. Our body's like, I'm all in. And the next month it's like, I give up again. And the next month I give in again. So there's like this fluctuation. That's inflammatory. Also, when I talked about the insulin specifically, as we, there's like this ride that we go on. And yes, our body might spike it that month, but then over time it's the smaller spikes. That is one of the things that will drive insulin resistance, and it is also a very pro-inflammatory condition. So I did see somebody ask too about like, oh my gosh, my estrogen's low and I feel like I tore my rotator cuff. That's what happens when we have low estrogen. It actually mimics fibromyalgia for women. That's a pro-inflammatory state. Pro-inflammatory state means we're already getting blood sugar a mess because our body's inflamed and it's in survival mode, and that spikes cortisol and that spikes sugars, it spikes insulin, and insulin is pro-inflammatory. So it's a lot of things that are all coming into play. It's we want to mellow out the chaos. We want to be able to do all the things you said, Amy. We want to make sure that we're sleeping good. We get our stress under control. And not only do we have the best products out there, you have multiple to choose from. So if the guys on the call, you smell adaptive and you're like, it's not my jam. Guess what? You have Shimmer Yoku, you have Copaiba, you have frankincense. Like you have
Balance.
a
Yep.
multitude of resources to lean into to be like, as a man, I like leaning into black spruce and I feel more great, fantastic. Whatever helps ground you and makes you feel like, I can go out, I can do my job, I can return home to my family in a nice, calm space. Use it. It'll make a massive difference.
Awesome. So I love that Janet had highlighted the phytoestrogen. Would you say that is a great solution to also kind of help get at the root of better balancing estrogen levels?
Yes, I love that. I really do like I saw somebody else throw in the clary sage and thyme in a capsule. That's probably one of my
Yeah.
favorites. And it is the other reason why I'd say, like, out of all the things, I double down on Advantage because not only are we getting the collagen, but all of the nutrients in there that are in our longevity blend, they're also anti-inflammatory. Plus, we're getting all extra B vitamins. We're making our cells function better. So I'm like, most bang for our buck, if you can lean in, that's probably one of my absolute favorites.
I love it. I think I covered all the questions. Did you see any more, Lindsay, that were from the chat?
There are a couple about like, is berberine a natural GLP-1?
It can be. It's like everything else. What I am afraid of is sometimes we message, well, if you just take berberine when you have lots of carbs, it's fine. And it's like, guess what? Getting enough carbs in a day is not something we struggle with as Americans. And so I would say start looking at it as more proactive and MetaPower Assist. We have berberine. Start looking at that as like, I live in America. The carbs are going to happen. I just every single day, it's something I need. And then it functions more of a GLP-1 versus in emergency mode because you're like, guess what? I'm not skipping the birthday cake. And so I'm taking my MetaPower Assist. It's more of a carb blocker, not a GLP-1. So it's kind of depends on how we're using it. It's working the same, but it's like, what are the priorities in the body?
I like that. Carb blocker versus GLP-1.
Yeah.
The other question that's been asked is about post-menopause. How does GLP-1 impact women that are post-menopause or like in their mid 60s? Is there anything that they should be concerned about specifically?
No, I mean, ladies, as we age, when our hormones start to wane, it puts us in an inflammatory state. So what we should be looking at is what am I going to redo in my daily routine? So the routine that served you at 30 years old, that served you at 40 years old and 50 and 60 years old, it should have changed a bit. So what are you doing to change the routine to support your body through the transition that you're in now or the state that you're in now? Most of us, I would say, as women, we tend to be nurturers and caretakers, and we prioritize everybody else the most of our lives, and we put ourselves on the back burner. And the time of life that you will feel that the most is in our 50s and 60s. Like right when we have that transition into menopause, your body's like, So I know you neglected me for the last 30 years, and you're going to hear all about it for the next 30 years. So I would say in our 60s, does a GLP-1 still work? Is it still beneficial? It can be. But also, what are you doing to tell your body, I'm sorry for ignoring you? Can we double down on nutrition? Can we? I have seen amazing pictures of women who decided to pick up bodybuilding in their 60s because they were like, heck no, I wasn't ready to look like my grandma, right? And they picked it up, but that meant that they had to pour into focusing on the nutritional needs, that they had to go back into movement, that it didn't matter how awkward or weird they felt, like getting into doing that type of exercise for the first time ever. They put themselves out there. So, yes, a GLP-1 can serve. It doesn't matter whether we are pre, during, post, whatever menopause, that can serve. But also look at what are the other lifestyle choices that you're making, and can you focus on making up for maybe the time we didn't prioritize our own personal health over the years.
Perfect. I have two more
Awesome.
questions. I do have
Okay.
two more questions. One that's been asked a couple of times. If you go on a GLP-1, are you on it indefinitely? I think that's a huge question that should be
Yeah.
answered.
Depends how you were dosed. So if you
Yep.
go on a GLP-1 in super high doses and you lose your lean muscle mass, you're on it indefinitely because you've lost your metabolic organ. If you are on small doses and you prioritize lean muscle mass through consuming enough protein and doing exactly what Lindsay said, you got to lift the weights, then no, it's not a forever. It's a correction. Something in the system went a little haywire. Sometimes we need a wrench and sometimes we need a battering ram. If you had to pull out the battering ram, it's not for forever if it's done right. If you chose a GLP-1 at super high doses and no one counseled you to consume enough protein and no one told you you need to go out and lift the weights, then yes, because everything else that would have supported you through with metabolic health, where you could have made the correction because now the weight isn't there and the insulin sensitivity should have increased, you're losing that. So correct it. If you're like, oh my gosh, that's me, make a different choice. Lower the dose dramatically. I watch the needle move with patients somewhere between zero point 0.5 and 3, and most people are dosed between 8 and 12 milligrams a week. That's just it's unnecessary. Don't do that to yourself. So that's the difference between do I need it forever or do I not? And back to lifestyle. If you get off that GLP-1 and you go back to all the bad decisions, you don't go to sleep, you don't use your oils to remove your stress from your life, you're not focusing on nutrition, you're not using your oils for regulating your sex hormones, you're not exercising, and you dive back into a nightly tray of brownies, you're going to be back on it, not because the GLP-1 forced you to, but because lifestyle choices forced you to.
100%. And the last one is about hair loss. Is it a lack of protein or B vitamins, or is it DHT?
Both. Well,
Okay.
DHT, less likely. The first two is a both. You cut down nutrients and you're in a depleted state and your body's like, do I want my heart to beat today or do I need to grow hair? Like that's where
Yep.
we're putting our body's decision making at when we get to that bad. So if it's dosed correctly, you wouldn't put yourself in that state. You would put yourself in a, I don't crave carbs anymore, but I'm getting my protein in. I know the importance, Lauren just told me repeatedly, I have to take a daily nutritional supplement. I don't care if that's LOV or VMG, whatever works. You have to take it, whether you're on a GLP-1 or not, because it's not happening in our diet. But the minute we decrease the amount of calories we're taking in, that means we are decreasing the possibility of having other nutrients in the food. So now it becomes even more important. And you don't want your body to decide hair growth or do I keep my digestive system functioning or my heart functioning? You want both. You want your hair to still grow. You want your skin to still glow. You want all the benefits of trying, like getting healthier and losing the weight. You still want to feel good from the inside out, which means the nutrients have to be there.
And can we just, I know we're out of time, but can you just lastly just say, with Copaiba, we've just seen some exciting research about what it does with fat and muscle. And I think it just really applies to this topic. So you can just share that last.
Yes. So I think one of the coolest things is when we start researching essential oils and we start looking at all the different ways that they impact the body, we're constantly learning. So for us, primarily when we talk about metabolic health, we are talking about things like MetaPower essential oils. So I saw that mentioned in the chat. It is amazing for reducing cravings. It is amazing for regulating blood sugar. It is amazing for actually telling your fat cells quit storing things. I actually dry brush with it. I dry brush with MetaPower essential oil and Revitazen, and that was life changing. 9 babies. My skin was like so happy. Um, so we have amazing things like that. But when we did research on the impact of including Copaiba essential oil with foundational wellness, without changing lifestyle at all, we saw an even exchange by 3% of a reduction in body fat and an increase in lean muscle mass. And once you increase lean muscle mass, all of a sudden your body becomes more efficient at burning sugar. So it's like if you had a car with no engine in it and you filled the tank with gas, it's just going to eventually overflow. And that's our body with all this sugar being poured in and nothing to use it, nothing to burn it. Your muscle is that engine. It like burns through the sugar, right? So some amazing, just complete exchange and increase of core strength. So again, when your body's not in an inflamed state, when it's not in emergency mode, which is what Copaiba does, it calms the system down. It calms the body down. It can say, oh, I'm not being chased by a bear or a cougar. I can actually look at optimizing my systems. And so I can look at, oh, she ate protein today. Great. Let's focus on more lean muscle mass. Oh, guess what that does? More core strength. And the lady who thought she could never do a push-up in her entire life, all of a sudden she's able to do some push-ups, right? So it's amazing when you give the body what it needs and you calm down the inflammation and those overriding systems of emergency, 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 and you kind of put them out, how much more our body functions efficiently.
We've seen that in our home. I've got one son who's more definitely like, I would say, um, more like me, where it's like, oh, emergency, emergency, like in your brain, and like kind of life, you're like, oh my gosh, it's an emergency. We do 2 Copaiba and 1 adaptive every morning, and we can tell a difference every single day when we calm the body at the beginning of the day. It is incredible. So highly recommend Copaiba.
Yes.
Lauren, you're amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. And can everybody give Lauren a huge applause, quietly, unmuted, but or muted, but and just thank you so much for taking time to educate. This has been so, so helpful.
Oh,
So
thank you for the invitation. Let me hang out with your guys' team. I love it. I love this. And yeah, I'm hoping that there was definitely pieces in there that everybody gets to take away. Small changes. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight, but you do have access to an amazing tool set for anything that you're at on wherever you're at on your health journey. Just get started somewhere and then watch what your body does when it's finally being listened to and heard and nourished in the right ways.
100%. You guys talk to your wellness advocate too. If you're on a GLP-1, we have honestly some of the best products to support you. And also, if you're like, I'm trying to avoid a GLP-1, get on. Part of your lifestyle is foundational wellness and making sure you have the right essential oils in your life to make sure that you're supporting your body well. So we absolutely have the product to help you do all of those things. So thanks so much, you guys. Have a great evening. And thank you, Lauren, so much.